Ahoy! Some important things have been happening and will be happening over the next few days in New World, so let's talk about it. The first one is one that is very crucial for something else that's going to be happening, and that is a fix or nerf and a fix to Burnanator. They fixed an issue where applying a new Burnanator stack would refresh the duration of all existing stacks. This has now been tested, and Mr. Mojito and Klasinki found that this does include the disdain infliction bug. So if you're using the Fire Staff now, if you're using the Burnanator now, you shouldn't be able to get to that previous 10-second glitch duration against someone who's running Vigor and a bunch of dot reduction anymore. The dots are still present for a little bit. You cannot reduce them to 0, but you can significantly reduce them, and disdain infliction is not going to prevent that anymore with this fixed duration. So that is a significant change that I think is very important. Along with that, there is also a raw nerf, reducing the damage per tick from Burnanator from 15 to 10%. 5% doesn't sound like much, but this is for 5 ticks, so it's actually 25, meaning a third of the overall dot damage, which is quite noticeable in combination with the fix. I can't say for sure if both of these changes combined will be enough to balance Burnanator fully, but it will definitely be enough to not make it an overly annoying problem above everything else in the near future in OPR, which is going to be important because of the next thing, and that is the Coral Divide map. But before we get to that, there's also another fix here where allied players' health bars could become grey and be untargetable after a team wipe in Hive of the Gorgons. And now moving on to Coral Divide. We can see the map here, rotated from what I was originally showing it as, and also with proper lighting now, so it looks a lot more vibrant, it looks very nice. And this one is going to be playable this weekend, and that's why it's so important that Burnanator was somewhat nerfed beforehand, because obviously otherwise it would have just been Burnanator City. It also seems to interestingly be the case that the fixes for Burnanator were applied in a different way from normally. So for example, the in-game tooltip is not changed yet. So some server-side temporary fix or something, apparently, according to the guys on New World Database, which means that they really rushed this to make sure it's out before the Coral Divide, which I think is a good call, and people were asking for that. So Coral Divide will be playable from Friday, February 7 at 6 PM UTC, until Monday, February 10 at 3 PM UTC. And you will also be getting some rewards for playing. They say about the map that inspired by player feedback, for example, this map is smaller with fewer direct paths between the outposts, featuring fewer wide open areas and having more controlled sight lines, which aim to create a more balanced and exciting experience. In addition to being able to play the map, you get some boosters, which are probably not important for most people: Season XP, Gathering, Season XP, and Weapon XP. What is probably going to be more interesting for a lot of people is that you get 1 Goldcursed Coconut per day for completing a match. And this will be delivered a fair bit later. You're not getting this right away. You'll get those during the Legacy of Crassus event, which is still a while away because we just got the new event. Keep in mind that when it comes to the Goldcursed Coconuts, especially if you're using them for artifact upgrades, the drop chance from the PvP island was nerfed recently, so this is going to be a much more efficient way to basically get a month's supply of coconuts for just playing a little bit of OPR, which I think is more engaging content than running around and trying to find chests. Additionally, there are also Twitch drops. For watching 8 hours of the stream during the event, you can get 10 vials of Suspended Azoth, 50 Dark Matter, 5 Gypsum Orb, but 50 Banana Parfait, 50 Regeneration Serum, which has been more interesting before the last patch, but oh well, and 35 powerful proficiency boosts. I think overall that's probably worth getting. And I will be streaming on Twitch TV/SLOTH during that event a little bit, so you can get it from me as well. If you're unaware on how these Twitch drops work, usually you don't need to watch all of the 8 hours in one stream. You can split between different streams as long as you have your Twitch account linked. The Siege of Sulfur is active now, and something really weird happened with that. Normally, as far as I'm aware, events become available everywhere at the same time on a global scale, whereas in this case, it seems to have been server-side time, and that resulted in it being available way earlier in Australia, which is something I'm not aware of happening before. And I wonder if this is something we'll see going forward, or if this was just a mistake. Meant that we could farm this basically pretty much a day before everyone else was able to farm it, so that was a bit odd. Now, a lot of the bans were lifted when it comes to people that were previously banned for the character transfers, but there are some really odd things, some really concerning things happening surrounding that. If you're interested in learning more about that, then consider subscribing and clicking the bell, because that's something I'll talk about tomorrow in detail, before afterwards we'll be testing out the new OPR map. If you enjoyed this video, feel free to leave a thumbs up, and if you'd like to support me further, you can do so on Patreon. Thanks to all of my patrons who do that, and thank you for watching. Duke Sloth, out.